Oh, my gosh. Well, first of all, I don't think you can have one member of one branch of government be represented by another branch of government in a legal proceeding. So putting that aside of the lunacy of what the president tweeted, the reality is there never was a real investigation conducted into the allegations made against Kavanaugh. What we saw last year was a sham investigation following really a sham confirmation process. The FBI took less than a week to conduct an investigation that the White House dictated who they were going to talk to, how many witnesses they're going to be able to reach. They talked to maybe 9 people, I believe, and then they closed the investigation. So should there be a more thorough investigation? Absolutely. Should there be an investigation into what actually happened between the White House and the FBI and the Justice Department last year? Yes, there should be. Whether there will or not be, I guess we'll see. I mean, again, connecting the last segment that we just talked about, if Democrat leaders are so hesitant to do impeachment over President Trump with all the material that they have, with the entire Mueller report at their disposal, why does anybody think they're going to be so giddy to go and do another impeachment investigation into Kavanaugh?
Perhaps, Julie, because he's one of those firebrand persons, individuals there, that kind of, it triggers people on both sides, in the conservatives as well as the liberals. Is that why this is sort of getting a little bit of drumbeat? You have, I believe, by last count, about 4 Democratic presidential candidates who are now calling for his impeachment.
Listen, nobody triggers the Democrats more than Donald Trump. So to think that somehow Kavanaugh is a special case, whereas the president is not, is kind of nonsensical. Look, the first person they should talk to is Christopher Wray, the head of the FBI, and ask what happened. This New York Times story details very clearly that people wanted to come forward, corroborate Deborah Ramirez's story. They were not spoken to, and multiple others were not spoken to as well who could corroborate other stories. So the question for the head of the FBI, forget William Barr, who I think has proven himself to be a massive partisan. But Chris Wray, I think, is less of a knee-jerk partisan than the Attorney General. What happened? What happened and why was this not investigated? Did somebody prevent him from investigating? Did Justice Kavanaugh somehow impress upon him not to investigate? Did the Attorney General? And then once we find out those facts, let's see what happens with Brett Kavanaugh. Look, we should focus on the President of the United States. He is at the head of this whole cartel who is responsible for this. By the way, the president is right. I would love for Justice Kavanaugh to sue her for liable or for libel, because that leads to discovery. Let's have Justice Kavanaugh in discovery talk about all the issues that came forward in this story. He's not going to do that, obviously, because he doesn't want this to happen. He doesn't want discovery to take place. And that gives you the answer in and of itself.
And let's talk a little bit more about this New York Times reporting. I should point out that I misspoke. There was no sexual molestation that took place in this particular case, as I mentioned at the top. But the New York Times reports that an attorney for one of Kavanaugh's accusers gave the FBI a list of dozens of witnesses that may have corroborating evidence of misconduct, but none of them, Kurt, were actually interviewed ahead of his confirmation. So can this investigation actually be revisited at this point?
It can be. Will it make any difference at the end of the day in terms of how the Republican Party functions in protecting Kavanaugh? No, it won't. And we know that by the fact that, heck, Roy Moore is running for Senate in Alabama again. This is a guy who's been accused multiple times of preying on underage women at the local mall, and he's somehow going to be their standard bearer in Alabama. We have a president who's been accused multiple times of sexual harassment, sexual assault, and yet the Republican Party turns a blind eye to that and allows him to continue functioning as president. As far as the Republican Party is concerned, in 2019, committing sexual harassment or sexual assault against women is not a disqualifier to be in public office.